Tonight, 94 new cases of COVID-19 recorded yesterday, of which 26 were recorded in St. Catherine, taking cases now to 48,733. In an exclusive interview with Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Fable Williams, she explains why it was important for students of PEP, CSEC and CAPE to return to face-to-face instruction to prepare for examinations despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
So we felt that it was important for our students to get back again into the face-to-face mode, to brush up, to focus them in terms of these exams, put them back in that mode again.
Still tonight, Supreme Court judge denies bail to Portland businessman Everton Beachy Stout MacDonald, accused of allegedly orchestrating the murders of his two wives. And a number of residents of the Rosemount Gardens community in St. James staged a peaceful demonstration demanding that the NWC provide them with water that they have not had for some time.
It has been a long-standing problem in the community for well over 2 decades. Ever since we are living here, we have been having water problems.
4 weeks, I had no water. I am sick and tired of this now.
Good evening. Jamaica registered 94 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, 26 of which were from St. Catherine. The new cases take the country's total of infected persons now to 48,733. There were no new deaths among the latest figures from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. However, one death was reported as coincidental for the 24-hour period. Deaths from the virus remain at 951. According to the ministry, the new cases consist of 55 females and 39 males ranging in age from 1 day to 93 years. St. James and St. Mary recorded 14 cases each. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded 11 cases. Hanover, St. Anne and Westmoreland recorded 6 cases each. Clarendon and Trelawney recorded 3 cases each. Manchester and St. Elizabeth each recorded 2 cases, and 1 case was documented in Portland. The country also recorded 180 recoveries, taking the total of recovered persons now to 25,802. There are 21,601 active cases currently on the island. In an exclusive interview with Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Fable Williams, she explained why it was important for students of PEP, CSEC, and CAPE to return to face-to-face instructions to prepare for examinations despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
We've always wanted our students to return to the face-to-face environment, but of course, we had and have to be guided by the Ministry of Health and Wellness because we're going through a health pandemic. And so you would have seen back in November of last year, we started bringing our students back into the face-to-face mode, but unfortunately, by the time we got into January, we were seeing a spike in our COVID numbers, and the directive from the Ministry of Health and Wellness was that, we take our students and have them go back into the virtual world. So having gotten this chance here now, in light of the exams that the students are doing, and these are exit exams, so for grade 6, they'd be leaving primary school, going to high school. Yes. Of course, you have the end of high school exams, the CSEC and the CAPE and NCT VET and so on. And so we felt that it was important for our students to get back again into the face-to-face mode, to brush up, to focus them in terms of these exams, put them back in that mode again. And so in tandem with the reduction in our COVID numbers, it just kind of worked out. We were able to get our students back into the physical world.
Minister Williams also outlined measures that the ministry has put in place to ensure student-teacher safety.
The COVID protocols, I mean, those have been communicated to our teachers, our principals, our students. It's mask wearing, it's the hand washing, or hand sanitizing, temperature taking, distancing. So within our classrooms, if you enter the classroom, you will see the desk, spaced out properly. If you go around the school compound, you will see wash stations that are just visible across the compound. And this was not the case prior to COVID. So the schools have made, efforts along, obviously the ministry had to provide some resources, but our partners, or Jamaican companies, individuals, or international partners, they have come on board to help us in the education sector, not only with devices, but with the construction of wash stations, the donation of hand sanitizers, and so on. It's been an outpouring, if you will, of persons helping the education sector.
The Education Minister further explained the government's standpoint on continuing the education of the nation's youth despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
So, of course, we had to expend all efforts to continue the education of our children despite the pandemic. And you would have seen how we immediately recognized that we had to get technology into the hands of our students, meaning the devices as a first step, and begin to see about connectivity as a second step, right? Yes. Because we didn't know how long we were going to be here. And even when we exit the pandemic, the students are still going to have devices, they're still going to have the connectivity and better, and we're going to be using technology in our education, in our schools. Our classrooms are going to be better equipped for that as well. We had to continue. We had to find ways to continue education. We could not afford to go through this while our students were just at home doing nothing.
You can watch our full interview with Minister Williams immediately after this newscast, as she will speak on topics such as the new coding initiative for schools, the challenges to the education sector in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, and is the vaccination of teachers mandatory? Still making the news tonight, a Supreme Court judge denied bail to Portland businessman Everton Beachy Stout MacDonald, who is accused of allegedly orchestrating the murder of his two wives. Justice Vinette Allen Graham, in handing down the ruling in the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston yesterday afternoon, said the court was satisfied that there were substantial grounds for believing that if the accused was released on bail, he would fail to surrender to custody based upon what is facing him and the sentences that may be imposed. Justice Allen Graham said the court was also of the opinion that the accused would commit another offense, but not by himself, as the allegations show that, quote, his modus operandi is to hire persons to kill. Also, he will interfere with witnesses or otherwise obstruct the course of justice, and so the application for bail in relation to Mr. Everton MacDonald is refused, end quote. MacDonald was in August of last year charged in relation to the death of his second wife, Tonya Hamilton MacDonald, whose partially burnt body was found with the throat slashed beside her burnt car on the Sherwood Forest Main Road a month before. MacDonald, also called Mr. Mac, was charged along with 30-year-old Astor Barnes, otherwise called Tiny, of Epsom District, Anoto Bay, St. Mary, and 56-year-old Denvelin Minot, otherwise called Bubble, a fisherman of Ranch Hill, Portland. Now, the men were jointly charged by the police with murder and conspiracy to murder after an intense investigation. During the course of that probe, details emerged linking the accused to the murder of his first wife, Merlene MacDonald, who had been fatally shot outside her home in Bound Brook, Portland in May 2009. The allegations are that he paid a police detective to kill her after their marriage crumbled in 2007 and she had left the matrimonial home. Yesterday, Justice Alan Graham pointed out that in granting bail to any defendant, the court has to take into account the nature and seriousness of the offense, the present character, antecedents, associations, and family ties of the accused. We will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. Still tonight, the Supreme Court is to rule this month whether to grant leave for former Education Minister Ruel Reid and co-accused to go to the Judicial Review Court in a bid to quash a ruling of a senior parish court judge. Reid and Caribbean Maritime University President Professor Fritz Pinnock contend that senior parish court judge Chester Crooks should not have ruled in an earlier matter due to a conflict of interest. Crooks and Reid are both past students of Monroe College in St. Elizabeth. The accused are now before the court on a multi-million-dollar fraud case. Crooks had heard a preliminary objection from their attorney, Hugh Wildman, that the trial should not take place because officers from the Financial Investigation Division, FID, did not have the authority in law to arrest or lay charges against the accused. On February 4 this year, Crooks disagreed and ordered that the fraud case should go to trial. At the time, however, Crooks revealed that he would not try the case because there was a potential conflict of interest. Last month, the accused filed an application in the Supreme Court seeking leave to go to the Judicial Review Court to quash Crooks's ruling following the discovery that the judge is also a Monroe past student. Continuing with the news tonight, Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Paula Llewellyn, is supporting calls for a review of sentencing guidelines amid increasing public concerns over lenient penalties being imposed for certain offenses. The current sentencing guidelines were launched by former Chief Justice Zela McCalla in 2017. Approximately a year and a half later, they were drafted. Llewellyn, speaking today at a Rotary Club luncheon, said she is hoping the current Chief Justice Brian Sykes and President of the Court of Appeal Justice Patrick Brooks would consider convening another committee by year's end to draft new sentencing guidelines. It would really be a call for the Chief Justice depending on how he feels after discussing it with his other judges, whether it would be timely, she said. The prosecutor said the review would be timely given the clamor by the public regarding recent sentences. We go to St. James now as a number of residents of the Rosemont Gardens community took to the streets with placards in hand to stage a peaceful demonstration demanding that the National Water Commission, NWC, provided them with water that they have not had for some time. Here is Javon Thomas with more on this story.
Residents of the Rosemont Gardens in St. James staged a peaceful demonstration earlier today due to the lack of water, which they say have been the case for a number of years. Lincoln Francis, president of the Rosemont Gardens Citizens Association, said that this has been a long-standing problem with the National Water Commission, NWC, not being able to supply water throughout the community.
It has been a long-standing problem in the community for well over 2 decades. Ever since we are living here, we have been having water problems. We have had a series of dialogues with the Water Commission to have this resolved. And how it is set up, the water is not routed directly to us, but it goes through a neighboring community then to us. Especially the persons who are living on the elevated area of the community. They suffer. They really don't get water. Sometimes we get a trickle in the pipe for a few days. Then it is gone for weeks, weeks upon weeks. And it is the same situation. We have complained, we have asked them even to chuck water to us. And they had made that promise that they would have chucked water to us on an interim basis. But until this day, we have not had any truck water. We have sent water, sent letter out to the National Water Commission, explaining to them the situation. They responded. They said that they would look at it and see if something could be done in this financial year. They gave us an estimate of what it might cost to pipe the water to us directly. But nothing is happening. When we come out, when we complain, if we threaten to demonstrate, then they will regulate the water and they will send some for us. So it is obvious that they can do better. If they regulate, we will get water.
Former president of the Rosemount Gardens Citizen Association, Beryl Hilton, is calling on NWC to remedy the situation immediately, especially now that the country is experiencing a pandemic.
I'm speaking on behalf of the citizens here that for a number of years now, we have been suffering water distribution to this community. We are saying to NWC that we need better treatment. Many of us here have worked tirelessly over the years. We have made much contribution to Jamaica. And we need better treatment. In times like these when we are having COVID, you can imagine when you do not have any water, you have to be collecting water from neighboring community or waiting on rainfall, which just started recently. We need better treatment from NWC. We are asking NWC to do better. So we are waiting on you patiently to solve this problem. It has been over 2 decades since we've been having this problem. So please, whatever the situation is, please remedy it.
One resident, Sonia Ellis, explained that in spite of no water, she is still receiving water bills.
My name is Sonia Ellis, a citizen of this community from the community inception, 20 many years. We have been having a constant water lock-off like almost every week. It is of particular importance to note this particular time every year since I'm living here, for up to 4-5 weeks, we have absolutely no water in this community. It's not a thing that the NWC will truck water. We will have to fend for ourselves like hen and chickens to go out and get water to come back to do our house chores. It's not a thing that our bills are any less. My bill last month was $20,000, even though I did not have any water, hardly. This month, my bill is $12,000. I have absolutely no leak. Let me make it quite clear. $12,000 this month. And for 4 months, I had, for 4 weeks, I had no water. I am sick and tired of this now. The days of slavery are over. We are in a terrible pandemic. NWC say water is life. No, look at my placard. It's a shame that I have to see them in this light. NWC, National Waterless Commission. But I have no other choice.
We'll bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. I'm Javon Thomas, reporting for Mello TV News.
Thank you, Javon. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories as the Universal Service Fund, USF, today handed over a check valued at 20 million Jamaican dollars to the Court Administration Division, CAD, for the procurement of equipment to improve the information and communication technology ICT infrastructure of the courts. And Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Audley Shaw, is encouraging more entrepreneurs to formalize their businesses through registration in order to gain access to greater funding opportunities with lower interest rates. But first, we'll take a break and then join Christopher Scott with the latest in sports.